Greetings, YouTube. I apologize for wearing both a hoodie, a robe, and having a blanket behind me, but at the time of the filming, I am still ill, and I am very, very cold. I have a flu, and I feel miserable. I apologize. One of the first things the GOP-led Congress has done since 2015 has rolled around, besides try to vote the Affordable Care Act out of power again, which is, I believe, the 52nd or 53rd time they've tried that. I'm not positive. Even though it benefits tens of millions of Americans and would kick most of them into far worse financial situations if it were rolled back, and their replacement for it is nothing but the echo of crickets. But one of the things they did after casting that vote has been to try to cut the SNAP funding, which is the Supplemental Nutrition and Agricultural and Produce Act, which is food stamps. Now this is aimed at poor people who can't afford food. For a family of four to qualify with the SNAP program, you have to make less than $2,500 a month. And it works out to the average person receiving benefits on the program of $125, which works out to a whopping $1.38 per meal 3 times a day. Now, I would like you to, next time you go to the grocery store in America, to go tell me what can you buy for $1.38 per meal, besides ramen noodles. If you buy the big cases at Walmart or Costco or something, if you have a membership of Costco, because if you don't have a membership before you became poor, you certainly aren't going to be able to afford to get one once you are poor. So their goal here is to reduce the spending. Now, in 2004, it was $27 billion, and now it's $74 billion. Okay, it almost tripled. That's a big difference. I'm not going to argue it hasn't. But, you know, our entire economy crashed thanks to the GOP. A lot of people are hurting. As much as 15% of the American population gets some kind of benefit from food stamps. But the politicians that are members of the Republican Party don't care about that. It is their position that if you are hungry, you'll be driven to go out there and try harder. Even though only 40% of the people on food stamps are able-bodied. The other 60% are infants, disabled, or the elderly. So they can't go out there and try harder. They're off that market. But they don't care about that. All they care about is making it look good to their base, who really, really hate poor people. Because they've been told for decades that poor people are to blame for their own problems. Whereas, you know, we could solve this problem in a heartbeat if we were to, say, cut off the $40 billion a year subsidies that the oil industry currently receives in America. $40 billion a year to the industry that makes more money than any others in our nation. You turn that off, chook. Suddenly there's $40 billion more to pay for food stamps. And suddenly you're going to make sure that no one in America goes hungry. But we can't do that. That's seen as a handout, even though giving $40 billion a year to the oil industry isn't viewed as a handout. There's an old quote. The best way to make money in America is to run an oil company. The second way, to run an oil company well. The best way is to run an oil company poorly. You can't lose making money with an oil company. But the GOP has been bought lock, stock, and barrel by the oil industry, so they're just gonna undermine human beings eating so that the oil industry continues to get subsidies they do not deserve and do not need. And anyone who has ever voted for the GOP, henceforth, you may never call yourself a Christian. Flat out. Don't do it, because you'd be lying. I think that's one of the sins, isn't it? Because if you're a Christian, you can't vote for the GOP. Because the GOP is not only preventing further spending to make sure people aren't going to go hungry, they're taking food out of the mouths of children. They are going to be driving people even deeper into poverty, degradation, humiliation. And for all those of you out there that think that private charities can handle this, that's also a lie. For every one bag of groceries provided by private charities in America, there are 23 bags of groceries provided by the federal government. So private charities provide 4% of our food needs in America. Private charities have never handled what we need in America. Ever. That's why we have publicly funded ones. Because at some point in our past, when we had an actual moral compass, we decided we got tired of seeing people starve in the streets. Nowadays, that's seen as a win-win to the GOP.